House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 4. What's the TLDR for this episode? There's a lot of sex and a lot of politics. It maybe could have used a sword fight or two. I can always cope with more charming women with not many clothes on. It turns out my tolerance for scantily clad women is higher than my tolerance for politics. On the whole, the episode was okay. It would have been nice if any of the many sex scenes in this episode had been, well, sexy would have been nice, instead of incesty and unappealing. The episode was not exactly what I was looking for, but I respect the effort. First up, I want to present to you the inaugural episode of Targaryen Family Fortunes. I've not decided on the name yet. It's that, or George R.R. Martin. What's wrong with you? Now, we'll start with this guy. Remember this guy? The old king from episode 1, Jaehaerys I Targaryen. This is the grandfather of the current king, this guy. George R.R. Martin wrote him and his wife, Queen Alysanne, having 13 children together, which is quite good going, considering that according to George, she was also his sister. Now, of the 13 kids, only 4 are important to the story of Hot D, and these are Aemon, their third child, who married Jocelyn Baratheon, having 1 child, Rhaenys Targaryen, this lady, who married this guy. Also important are the 4th and 5th children, Balon and Alyssa, who are affectionate brother and sister in all the wrong ways. They are also mother and father of this guy, the current king, Viserys I. Also the 8th child, Daella, who married Roderick Arryn, having 1 child, Emma Arryn, who you may remember was this lady who died in childbirth in episode 1. So you may be thinking, hang on, doesn't that mean... And yes it does. All of this means that this guy and his good lady wife, this lady, are first cousins. So it was a hard day for King Viserys I in episode 1. On one single day he lost his wife, his son, his cousin and his nephew, comprising in total 2 people. At this point, it's hardly surprising that Targaryens having trouble breeding. Their gene pool is more of a gene puddle, and the family tree is essentially a torus. This begs another question, that being, George R.R. Martin, what's wrong with you? George has 2 siblings, both sisters, named Darlene and Janet. I can only imagine Thanksgiving dinner with George must be a very awkward affair, as the 2 sisters try and eat without making eye contact with them. Never has it occurred to the Targaryens that if they want viable children, it's maybe a bad idea to F your sister. This is not a case of wincest. Your children are popping out looking like Metapod. And that's without even getting to the amount of underage sex George writes. Who does he think he is, Stephen King? So we ask again, George R.R. Martin, what's wrong with you? We may never know, but we open up on the princess. Her father is having her travel Westeros looking for a husband. She's not impressed by any of the noblemen that come forward. The first man is too old. A man from the House of Dondarrion, a forebear of Beric Dondarrion from Game of Thrones. The next man is too young, a maybe 13-year-old boy from House Blackwood in the Riverlands. He tells the princess that if they marry, she'll never have to fear for her safety again. An older man in the crowd calls him a dumb runt. Let's imagine he said runt, because I'd quite like to get monetised. From the sigil on his clothing, the older man is from House Bracken, also in the Riverlands. Now, these 2 houses are neighbours, the Brackens of Stonehenge and the Blackwoods of Raventree Hall, and both are bondsmen of the Tullys of Riverrun, so it makes sense there's an acrimonious rivalry between the 2. I cannot stress how much I respect this attention to detail. I love that they cared this much, enough to embroider appropriate sigils onto clothing, after season 8 of Game of Thrones, where they filmed with Starbucks coffee cups in shot, several times. I love in House of the Dragon that they cared this much. The older man carries on goading the young man and calls him a coward. The boy draws a sword on him. The princess leaves in disgust as the 2 men fight, and the older man is stabbed, I think to death. I can't tell you because it happened off camera again. I know it's too late to change it now, House of the Dragon, but please, if you make any more of this show, stop having all the action happen off camera. Last episode, the crab feeder got killed off camera. The show found time in episode 1 to show me Matt Smith's bottom, and him thrusting, but you keep on cutting away from things I'm actually interested in. You're giving me sword fight blue balls here. The princess leaves on a ship, and I'm not sure why. She was meeting people from the middle of the country. Why is she even on a tour? Why don't the nobles come to the capital to court the princess? You'd think men would come for a princess. That's what she said. On the ship, they get buzzed by a dragon as they come up to King's Landing, signalling that Daemon has arrived. The king takes court as Daemon strides in, his hair cut short and wearing a ragged crown, signalling that he is the king of the narrow sea. He offers his allegiance to the crown and to his brother, and the king accepts him back. Matt Smith up to now, a lot of people have been praising, but I was less sure. Now, he's starting to impress me more. He seems more at home with this older, more weathered Daemon, and I appreciate how he's subtly changed the character, because of the 2 years he's allegedly been at war. The king is kind of a dick to his wife. In a breaking conversation, Alicent suggests Daemon may want to see some tapestries, and the king laughs in her face boorishly, saying Daemon won't be the least bit interested in that sort of thing. Alicent walks off disappointed, and the interaction between Alicent and the princess is really rather good in this episode. I'm liking the complexity of their relationship. Alicent and the princess talk, and Alicent says she doesn't understand why the princess was unhappy with the tour, saying, "In life most women don't get 2 men to choose from, let alone 2 score. It's kind of romantic." The princess responds saying, how romantic it must be to get imprisoned in a castle and squeeze out airs, and poor Alicent's face drops, as it sinks in that she maybe resembles that description. Damn it, Emily Carey, stop making me feel things. Alicent cuts a tragic figure now. She obeyed her father, did her duty, did everything asked of her, and now she finds herself with no choices and no happiness. Alicent says she finds she has few friends lately. This actress has me feeling for her character. Her, the king, the princess. In a way, they're all slaves to their position. The princess says, "My mother was forced to produce heirs until it killed her." The princess is one of the most privileged people in the entire kingdom, and she's kind of spoiled. Almost anyone, man or woman, in the country would trade places with her in a minute, and she still wants more. She's still not happy with what she's got. She wants to be able to sleep around, like she said her father did at her age. She wants to rule the kingdom, but she's not willing to be a responsible leader, or make any of the sacrifices that would require. Her father tried for years to have an heir, remarried again despite not wanting to. She wants everything, and is willing to sacrifice nothing. The princess goes back to her chamber to find that Daemon has left a package for her. It contains a disguise and a map to a secret passage that takes her out of the castle. Daemon meets the princess outside and takes her out into the night and the debauchery of the common folk. He takes her to a brothel, and they get a lot closer than a niece and an uncle should, and it is unappealing. Daemon seems to finally realise this and leaves. The princess goes back to her room and drags in Sir Criston Cole, who's supposed to be guarding the door. This is maybe why you don't have a handsome, muscular man, on his own, guarding the door of your 18-year-old daughter. But at last something has finally made her happy. Not sure how the king missed how bored his daughter was. Maybe he should have got her a vibrating chastity belt or something. Sadly, the same cannot be said for Alicent. Poor Alicent. The king calls for her in the middle of the night, and she's not having fun at all. The king is still a moron. Alicent deserves better. Damn it, Emily Carey, will you stop making me feel things? It's not on. I'm an English man, and it's not allowed. And none of these sex scenes are sexy. One of Otto's spies saw the princess and Damon. Otto reports it to the king, and everything hits the fan. In the gardens, Alicent confronts the princess about being seen in the brothel, being pinned to a wall by her own uncle, and the princess lies to her. The king confronts Damon, and the king is stupid enough to be alone with Damon. Good job Damon is so drunk and hungover he can barely stand. Damon says he wants the princess as a wife, and the king banishes Damon again. Damon already has a wife that the show has been telling the viewers is ugly all season. She's being played by this actress, who frankly is extremely cute. When Hollywood needs a less attractive character, they frequently get someone who's pretty and then put makeup on them to make them look uglier, because Hollywood is insane. And despite Hollywood's long-established casting couch culture, they still seem to want to lecture the world on morality. The king furiously confronts the princess, about 4 episodes too late, and she agrees to marry one of the Valerian family's sons, on the condition that the king has to get rid of Otto as the hand for his constant scheming, which the king does. And that's it for episode 4. I liked the effort, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. The sex wasn't sexy, the politics just aren't the same without Varys and the little finger. Overall, the acting doesn't really match up to early seasons of Game of Thrones, where we had the talents of Sean Bean, Charles Dance, Aidan Gillen, Lena Headey, Diana Rigg. I love you, Diana Rigg. Those are some big boots to fill. But on the whole, it was okay.